Morning grind with pork rinds.
Welcome to the show.
It's a Wingin It Wednesday right here on the Morning Rant. Again, we appreciate you guys being in with us right here inside our Kia studios. Dave Garner with you till 11 o'clock this morning as we chop it up here in the world of local sports. And I'm here with my man, Big John Davis, two-time Georgia Tech All-American, former Buffalo Bill, and proud Gilmer High graduate. And John, man, you're rocking that Legends Buffalo Bill Legends Community Polo here again today, partner.
In honor of the 26th NFL draft and my Tim Hortons.
There you got the man. You got the Tim Hortons Cup going on there, man. Hey, we appreciate you guys listening in once again right here on a Wingin' It Wednesday. Today we're going to head down memory lane a little bit with Big John Davis a little bit later on in the show. We're going to chop up some Atlanta Braves talk there and some different things. But the big focus today we're going to talk about is the upcoming NFL draft. It all gets underway tomorrow up in Pittsburgh. I know you've got some notes about that. We're going to circle back to some spring practice stuff, some Georgia Tech stuff as well, because you were there last weekend. But I want to start out, I mean, we've got a lot of folks that are tuning in this morning, and I know you've got some different folks that you want to shout out here as we get going in this opening segment of this Wingin' It Wednesday.
Well, you know, you and I, it's like you said, we're just not a regional. I mean, we are a regional, but we also can spread out. And, you know, fortunately for me, I've got a lot of people, you know, Buffalo, Houston. But I wanted to this morning give a shout out to my son and his wife, Nikki. They're out over somewhere in Ireland. We think they're around the Cliffs of Moher. Yeah. Harrison and Nikki's over there listening, and just wanted to say hello to them. And just our friends, you know, the friends that we have with the Curry Huddle, you know, we had a great reunion with them last week. Right. And, you know, I got a lot of my old teammates and friends listening to us, as well as some friends up in Charlotte. And give a shout out to my old principal, Lex and Ann Rainey up in LJ. So we do appreciate their support. Their son, Alex, is down in Auburn. So, Dave, we're getting some listeners all over the place.
I love it.
Even right down the road here, our buddies at Bradley's, and I got a good friend, Ed Getz, at CertaPro, who is listening in and wanting to support us and to keep listening to us.
There we go, man. We got a lot of support right here this morning. You know, and we were talking about it yesterday, you know, John, and of course, the analytics. I mean, obviously in the first month of the show, you know, we had almost 2,000 unique listeners, you know, over 4,000 downloads, and really just from the first month. And now here we are into the second month, gaining momentum, gaining traction. You talked about Bradley's, and I know that on, I believe, May 15th, looking at doing a live show down there in that East Cobb area. We've got a lot of different partnerships, places that we've been. Of course, our friends at Foundation Wealth over in Dalton. You know, we've been live at the pub in LJ, your hometown. We'll continue to be there some as well. But, yeah, looking forward to Bradley's and seeing all the folks down there here the next coming weeks and kind of, you know, the direction where we're going, man. I like it. Gaining some momentum, picking up some steam.
You know, John's a great friend of ours, right down the road, not even a half a mile from the house. Got a great, what I like to call one of the old classic dive bars. And some of the best food around East Cobb, I think. But he's going to treat us to some breakfast burritos, some bottomless mimosas.
There you go.
Some Bloody Marys.
I like it.
So we're looking to pack his restaurant. Hopefully, we're going to be able to do 2 hours on May 15th. I think you're still working that out on your side now.
We're working it out. We'll figure it out.
We're excited, and you know, and thank you for other people, the pub and over in Dalton, and the people that we're able to go out and visit with. And I think that's what it's all about. And I think that's why our show's going to be successful, not only because of you, but being able to get out and be involved with the North Georgia community and even down into the Atlanta area. Because, dude, I've got some big things for us. I'm going to get us down to Georgia Tech and some other places that we can expand a little bit and draw that fan base out.
Yeah, you know, and we talk about the show alive and well on the digital stream, of course, over the air as well, but really social media. I mean, obviously the Sports Sports Pigs on Facebook. Our show, The Morning Rant, is on Instagram. You can also watch full video episodes of the day of each day right here on YouTube. The Morning Rant, the podcast version available on our website at sportspigradio.com, and really wherever you listen to your favorite daily podcast. So again, we're all over the place right here. We are the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com. But to your point, people, if you are watching on YouTube right now, I'm holding up my phone, right? Because this is how people listen, right? They're not tuning in to the radio anymore to hear their favorite song, right? I mean, everybody's, listening to Spotify, they're listening to what have you, to get their favorite song. But the connectivity is where radio still wins, right? And I say this as a guy that spent a lot of years in television. But again, radio is where you connect back in to the communities. It's where you got to get out to the people. Like, you're a man of the people. This is a station of the people, right? And so we're going to try to get the station and the show out in front of folks as much as possible. That's where we're going to win, right? So it's up to you guys too, man.
I think so too. And one more, I've got my good friend and neighbor John Mincer and his family. They're over at Lake Weiss. They bought them a lake house over there that we've been able to visit, and he's spreading the love. One of the good things about my friends that I really enjoy being a part of is they're trying to push us out. They the unique thing with Georgia Tech is we all want to help each other. The connections. Right. I think Hester might have, I don't know, 8, 10, 12,000 connections on LinkedIn. Yeah. And, she's going to put something out there for us when we get ready for our podcast. And then also the radio show when it works, the right way. But, having great friends out there pushing it out, they want to see you succeed. And I'll say one more thing. Unfortunately, with the good comes the bad. We just found out with the Curry Huddle, we lost one of our teammates a couple of days ago.
Okay, wow.
Probably one of Coach Curry's first recruits. Robert Wolf was a fine offensive lineman for Georgia Tech, and we just found out we lost him. And, unfortunately, as we get a little bit longer in the tooth, things like this happen. And I think in the last 6-8 months, we've lost about 3 or 4 teammates. And, it hurts. And but you try to think of the great memories of the time that you had with those guys, not only at Tech, not only at practice, not only in the locker room, but in life outside.
Absolutely. It's always hard, and especially when you bond with those guys, because a lot of times, like you said, I mean, being an athlete, you spend more time with these guys than you do your own family, especially in season a lot of times. And so, again, it definitely makes it tough right there. Hey, speaking of Georgia Tech, Coach Mo, offensive lineman, I know you're tight with him. We were talking about spring football practice, of course, over the weekend, wrapping up locally for a lot of our area schools. And, we were talking about some inside information there. We were talking yesterday on the program about the younger Mendoza and kind of solidifying himself as the potential starter going into the year. Any other information that you can talk about? Because I know you've had some conversations along the way. We didn't get a chance to talk to you yesterday. We left off on Monday kind of talking about that, but I wanted to revisit that for just a moment and kind of put a cap on spring practice.
Well, one of the things, we mentioned about with Goose about how diverse the offense is going to be, and I, had a conversation with Coach Bo Friday night at the Letter Winners outing, and basically I really like his approach to what he's doing is that to help people understand, you've got different 5-minute segments of practice that you fill up during the day. And, I would say probably 70% of that time is going to be for individual work. And one thing that I can really get into and really like about Coach Mo is he spends a lot of time individually, but he also spends it very physically.
Right, yeah.
Because that's when you get your best work from your guard center, your center tackle, your tackle tight end, the inside guard to guard. And he said, look, we work very hard. And he says that way when we go to team, you put it all together, but we're not as physical because, when you get into team, there's a lot of bad things that can happen, especially injury-wise.
Oh, yeah.
And especially
no doubt
if
about
you're
it.
tired.
Right.
So Yeah, so he's got it worked out in his way to where he's going to get the maximum amount from his kids individually, and then watch it just come out in the teamwork. And then that way you can go in the film room, you can sit there, you can sit down, break it down, and watch it, and then you can go back individually the next day, and then bring it back out in teams. So I know that's a lot of rambling, but it's very exciting because as someone who watches the offensive line, I love watching plays develop, especially from the front seven and then starting to go back. My dad I never knew how my dad, he would sit there and be able to watch the offensive line and then just go all the way back to the running backs, and he could
right.
see. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm with the offensive
Each level,
line,
man,
and then I'm
yeah.
like hoping like hell that I can find the ball after 2 or 3 seconds.
Right. See, so here's the thing, man. I'm an offensive lineman at heart, right? When I started playing football, I was an offensive lineman. I played center most of my career until I got in high school, and I was only $130, right? So, I mean, I couldn't, it's a lot different now, obviously. But I could, so I had to become a DB, man. Like, I went from basically a center to a JV. Funny thing about that is when we got into some JV games, we didn't have a center. There was a couple games where we didn't have people. So I was a DB, and then I had to flip over at 130 pounds and play center. And I had to give up my DB number because you had to have a lineman number. So I was wearing like 54 or something like that, playing cornerback, But again, it was the most fun I ever had. And I actually held my own because it's all about technique, right? But no, you're right. I mean, when you get
basically,
yeah.
You went from skilled to unskilled, and then they finally said, "No, we need him back to the skilled players."
Yeah, I tell you, if I'd have been a little bit bigger though, man, I certainly would have stuck with the trenches because, man, there's always just something about playing up front that I really enjoyed and appreciated. So again, man, yeah, a lot of stuff coming out there.
There's action every play.
Oh yeah, there is,
and that's what the best thing. And we're not taking 15, 20-yard runs at each other. We're pretty much 5 yards or so, which is good.
Exactly, getting a little bit of a little bit less of a head start than maybe that running back barreling down at you if you're a linebacker, for example, breaking through the first level there.
Exactly.
So again, no, man, a lot of love for those offensive linemen. I think that's definitely going to be critical for Tech's success this year, being able to protect Mendoza presumably or whoever it may be, but also being able to run great and do the things that, of course, Georgia Tech wants to do this year. Great information, Big John. We are up against our first break. When we come back, we're going to dive into a little bit more football talk. Man, we're going to move it around here today on this Wingin It Wednesday edition of the Morning Rant. Again, we're the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia, right here on the SportsPig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
Make your home's air healthier. Green Heating and Cooling can help by installing a Bryant Evolution air purifier just for you. Using Captures and Kills technology, this highly advanced MERV15 filter captures many select airborne pathogens. It also helps improve indoor air quality for both asthma and allergy sufferers by filtering air impurities like dust, pollen, and pet dander. Call to schedule an evaluation. Green Heating and Cooling, your top Bryant authorized dealer, whatever it takes.
Big opinions of the big games from the big mouths.
Man, I think it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. It's the Morning Rant on WPGY, the Sports Pig, North Georgia's home for ESPN Radio.
Sit down.
Back here on a Wingin It Wednesday with my man John Davis, Dave Garner in with you till 11 o'clock. Again, Chuck Oliver, the king of college football, up at 11 with Southern Sports today. Again, he will be talking a lot about the aftermath of spring football and leading into the season as far as the recruitment trail. So looking forward to hearing Chuck at 11 o'clock. Hey, we were talking a little bit about, college, Georgia Tech, this, that, and the other. Man, how about that baseball game last night down at Truist? It was Georgia Tech, number 3 and number 5 going at it. And you'll be proud to know, John, man, your Yellow Jackets got the best of in that game last night.
Well, I'll tell you what, then again, I don't have any Georgia fans, but I don't understand why they stopped the game at 7 innings.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We beat them by 10 runs.
There you go.
So,
14-4, yeah.
It sounds like we got revenge from the North Carolina going 1-2 against them, so we're back on track. But no, listen, I've watched Georgia on TV.
Yeah.
their pitching is phenomenal,
right?
And they are a very good team. I know I'm giving them a hard time. I know there's a lot of great Georgia fans on here,
right?
But their pitching's phenomenal. Tech, isn't it nice though to have teams like this in the state of Georgia that's relevant and the nation is talking about everybody?
Yeah,
I just think it does nothing but just really elevate the programs in the state of Georgia in the sports world.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, 10-run last night, Georgia Tech 14-4. They're 33-7 now overall. Georgia at 32-10. Both of them, again, obviously having phenomenal seasons. As we mentioned, both teams ranked in the top 5. You love to see it, and we saw that a little bit, with football over the last couple of years. Both teams. It's always better when both teams are having good seasons. I think it's a lot more fun from a fan standpoint, and no matter what sport it is, when both teams are winning and playing at the top of their game and then facing each other. And, of course, Tech getting the better of Georgia last night. That game, of course, was at Truist Field in front of about 20,000 folks. So, again, a good crowd last night to watch some college baseball. Hey,
Dave, before I cut you off, with all due respect to Georgia fans, that's about the only good thing I'm going to be able to say for a while, okay? The last 3 games,
man.
Brent Key reminded us Saturday morning that the last 3 football games were decided by 1 possession.
Yeah.
And trust me, that hurts just as much as anything else.
Oh, man, yeah.
I'm gonna play nice because you're making me, but
hey,
don't push me if you don't mind.
You ain't got to do that. You ain't got to do that, man. You ain't got to do that. You ain't got to be nice at all. Hey, we're gonna talk a little bit about the draft and some NFL talk here in just a moment. I kind of wanted to circle back because yesterday we had a really good conversation about sports villains and most hated people. You were texting me. I was bringing up Michael Jordan, some of them, but I wanted to kind of drag you into that conversation for a moment. I mean, who is your maybe somebody you lined up against? I know we've talked about this a little bit before on the show, but was there someone that you played against, or maybe someone that you didn't, that you would consider maybe your biggest sports villain throughout your life? Or maybe in your early life?
Well, you've kind of caught me a little bit because that was going to kind of be my memory down the lane.
Was it? Okay, we can skip it. We can skip it.
No. I'll switch it from one thing to another. But growing up, I despised the Detroit Pistons. There wasn't one thing about the Detroit Pistons that I liked, and the LA Lakers.
Right.
Both of those, they could, whatever. But as far as playing against people, especially in the NFL, there's a lot of things that I can't say that were conversations that were on the field. But, Reggie White obviously was a hard game. Ray Childress at the old Houston Oilers and my old teammate, we used to get in a fight every day at practice. And then that kind of led over to, and I think we talked about it earlier, but that kind of led over to the field because we played them several times during the season. Yeah. But as far as team-wise, not so much not liking them, but the hardest games that I think I ever had were against the Jets and against New England, our own rivals.
Right.
Because they just, at that time, Dave, they weren't very good. They had good players, but they weren't very good. And, I'll give you one quick story. We're playing in Buffalo. It's like 3 degrees. The wind chill's like 15 degrees. The defensive lineman's Paul Fraze, who had a great career, and their coach would not let them wear long-sleeve shirts during the game. And, of course, when it's 14, 15 below, you're freezing.
I was going to say, absolutely.
I said, Paul, I said, can I get you a shirt? And he's like, no, they won't. So we were just like, okay, here's what we're going to do because we're in the playoffs. They're not in the playoffs. Yeah. And I said, we're going to play as hard as we can, but it's going to be at a third grade level.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, I'm in, And so we had a great game. It was a lot of fun, but I didn't really develop rivalries when I played. I played against Reggie White in college, and then obviously had a couple of times to play against him in the NFL. My best rivalries were with Howie Long and Lawrence, and Lawrence Taylor and those guys. But I just didn't have any hate for anybody, especially because we're all one goal. This is a profession, this is a job. You want everybody to be healthy.
It's a fraternity. There's
but
definitely
growing
a lot of
up is a little bit different. In football, I really didn't care because I was a fan of a lot of teams, but the Pistons and the Lakers were just like, it's just like Boston says, beat L.A.
Here you go, exactly. And speaking of, obviously the NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs are at it. The Hawks again splitting in New York, causing all kinds of a ruckus up there amongst their fan base as they continue to basically blame Trae Young for everything, even though he's not on the Hawks anymore. Now there's going to be a new villain in town, it looks like. But again, so in Game 3 of that series, of course, shifting to Atlanta tomorrow night. Right alongside the draft there, the first round of the NFL draft. Speaking of playoffs, NHL as well, and I know you've been following the Buffalo Sabres, and I kind of want to get your take about that as well, because, man, it was fight night the other night. I mean, the Mafia is it's the Mafia putting on Sabres jerseys, right?
I know it's unbelievable, and I just wish I was up there. My buddy Jim and Mark Butler and those guys, they're having a ball. Looking at the stadium, you turn a hockey game on to watch a fight,
right?
And,
a boxing match.
I was literally, I was literally sitting here last night at my desk and looking at my monitor. And I just kept going from game to game to game, and every time I, clicked it on, it was a fight.
Right.
And so I was just like, okay, boys, just get it out of your system.
Yeah, exactly.
But what it boils down to now, I know the Sabres scored 2 late goals, but what it boils down to now is the best of 3 out of 5. And literally, I think this is going to be a 7-round knockout. I think it's going to go that long. They say that the Boston Bruins are a lot more physical. I watched Lindy Ruff at the podium, and he kind of gave a little bit of a smirk, when that came out, or if he said that. So I just think emotionally, being out of the playoffs for 15 years, Dave, you're going to put everything. You're not going to leave anything on the ice.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to get every minute's worth, and fines be damned, because they don't care. And and that's what makes for great hockey. And it's just like last night. If you watch the second goal that Boston made from the center line, I mean, all the puck hits one different way, and it goes about it kicks 6 inches right.
Absolutely.
The goaltender was right there.
Right.
I mean, he had the goal covered, and it just went right.
And the
by.
guy, he flipped it up in the air, and it took a funny hop, just like a bad ball going out to shortstop, and it just kind of hopped right through. Yeah. So. There's been a lot of great moments already.
That's what's great about it. It's just what's great about it.
I know Avalanche, has been the number 1 team all year long. They're going up against the Oilers in the first round, which obviously with Connor McDavid and all those guys that we know, and 2-1 Avalanche in a shootout the other night. That one wrapping up a shootout needed there, and then of course some close games last night as well. A lot of one-score games. I mean, Caps over the Blue Jackets 2-1, Hurricanes. So there's a lot of different things that have happened over the last couple of weeks in this last week now as the playoffs get underway in the NHL, in the NBA. I did want to talk about in the next segment, we're going to kind of jump into, memory lane, and then our final segment, we'll kind of jump into the draft a little bit. But one thing I kind of wanted to bring to you too, because I figured you'd have a pretty good take about, is Stephen A. Smith, and I don't know if you saw this, he mentioned yesterday, speaking of villains, right? Sports villains. Stephen A. Smith says that the golfers and NASCAR drivers are not athletes. And so I don't know if you saw that or not, but I thought that was an interesting take. But again, I think some people just say things to rage bait or to do whatever, which our very own Art Mosley is accusing me of that with Michael Jordan. But, your thoughts on that, because I think you bring, as a former professional athlete, you bring a little bit different perspective. You might agree with that. I don't know, but where do you fall on that whole thing?
Well, I think Stephen A. Smith's an idiot, and I think he's all out for clicks.
Yeah.
And I hope I don't make anybody mad. I'm past that. They are. There was a time in my life to where I didn't think some sports were as athletic as our sports was.
Sure.
And as I got older and as I began to study it, I was like, like race car driving.
Yeah.
Dave, you're in a car for 400 laps. Well, you know what? Once you watch documentaries and shows, the respect level goes way up.
Oh, absolutely.
For these guys.
Yeah.
And, you know, for what they do and the time that they put into it.
Yeah.
You know, not only in the computer room, but all over the, all over the track.
Right.
Every sport is athletic. I don't care what anybody. Golf is a thinking man's sport. You know, I always remember the story that Lee Trevino used to say that he hated the way golf was changing in the 90s because he was having to play with kids that would wake up in the morning, drink their carrot juice, drink the, eat all this frou-frou. And he says, dude, I was just getting out of bed or going to bed at 4 playing poker and drinking scotch the night before.
That John Daly life, man, I'm telling you.
Exactly. And you can see how, can you imagine having 144 John Daly's out at the Masters?
Oh, my goodness.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah, it would be entertaining, awesome, to say the least. Yeah.
Maybe not the Masters. Let's put the Masters aside. But I think every sport, Stephen A's just trying to get clicks. He's trying to throw out if he wants to be in play or the politics and stuff. But, you name the sports. Tennis, that's the great thing I loved about Olivia and Julia was that if any sporting match was on, they'd come and sit with me and we would sit there and watch it. And, anyway, volleyball, I grew up with volleyball for 10 years with Julia.
Right.
And I'm like, holy crap. Some of the talent that I saw was just unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
And, thankfully she got a chance to be a part of a national championship team, which is, very hard to do.
Right.
But, I'm not going to be mean, but Stephen A. Stephen A. I think ESPN's going through some changes right now.
Right.
And I'm hoping that they might relook at some of their commentators and stuff that they put on there, because I would honestly like to go on ESPN and watch sports. Yeah, and not hear anything
all that,
political.
Yeah, the talking heads and all the politics. You're right about that, and there's definitely you think about all the Colin Cowards out there and the Skip Baylesses and some of those people they're looking for the reaction, right? And so again, that's what it's all about. We bring real perspective right here on the Morning Rant, man. That's what it's all about. So I love it right here. Hey, we're up against our second break. Again, the Morning Rant Monday through Friday right here live at 10. Again, Chuck Oliver up at 11. Right here on the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the SportsPig app and online at sportspigradio.com. We'll be right back.
When you get hurt from an accident, it can feel like no one is listening to you. The insurance company talks over you. The bills keep coming. It's like the pain and inconvenience doesn't even matter to them. But your story does matter. And here at Geiger Legal, we will make sure your story is heard loud and clear. My name is Casey Geiger, and my firm stands up for people who have been wronged through someone else's negligence. Let us tell your story. Let us get the justice you deserve, and let's start today.
Call Geiger Legal Group at 833-HELP-GLG. That's 833-HELP-GLG, and let us tell your story today.
We bring the heat. You bring the trash talk.
Come on, man. Are you serious?
It's the Morning Rant, live on the SportsPig app and sportspigradio.com.
Back here on a Wingin It Wednesday, presented by your friends at the pub in LJ. $1 wings all day long on this Wednesday, midweek right here on the Morning Rant. Dave Garner with you till 11 o'clock in here with my man, Big John Davis, as we continue to chop it up right here. Hey, the Atlanta Braves, the streak finally came to an end last night, unfortunately, as they get beat by the Washington Nationals in the nation's capital. Last night, you knew it had to come to an end at some point. They had won, 5 in a row, I believe, at that point. And so, again, kudos to the Atlanta Braves. But, Ronaldo Lopez just didn't really have it last night. Drake continues to rake. Baldwin with another home run there, but the Braves on the short end of the stick. And they'll have the rubber match again here today against the Nats a little bit later on tonight. We're talking a little bit about the Braves. They've been off to a great start, and I mentioned something yesterday. They've really been playing with the lineup. We talked about it with Walt Weiss. 11 or 12 different variations of the lineup here just in the first few weeks of the season. So still a lot of tinkering going on right now, trying to find those different combinations that are going to work. But so far, you got to be pleased with the way this team's been pounding out runs, and also have gotten some really good efforts from their bullpen and some good starting pitching. All around kind of great start for the Atlanta Braves.
Well, and I think as you go along with the season, Dave, tinkering's not a bad word, because 162 games is a lot. There's going to be injuries. You're going to get tired. talk about another sport, everybody's like, well, they stand, for 80% of the time. Well, the mentality of those guys, it has to be phenomenal because you have to be on. But listen, I think you agree with me. If we can win the majority of the series, we're going to be in good shape.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that shows you right there you're going to be about in the 95 to 65 record. And you're going to be positioning yourself in the playoffs pretty good. So I think what Walt is doing is fantastic. And I think Hester and I are set up to go to another game here in the next couple of weeks. I can't wait to get there. The atmosphere is great. The fans are great. It's not. Hey, listen. I remember my good friend and I, Warren Sellers. We used to go back in the late 70s, early 80s when there was like 3,000 people. Yeah. And we sat right behind home plate at the old Fulton County Stadium.
Oh, yeah, with the old teepee out there in left field. Yeah.
Exactly. To go there now, and the only thing you're bitching about is the traffic, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so, too. No doubt about that. I remember those days, man. I grew up in that old stadium watching Braves and Falcons in that old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. And real quick,
I played
too.
in that stadium, actually.
Oh, yeah. I figured you probably did. How many times? Do you remember how many times did you play in there?
Just
more than once? Just the one time?
I'll never forgive my coach because I played special teams, but he never let me get to play. I had probably 30 or 40 people come down from LJ to watch me. Yeah. And after the game, he's like, I forgot that this was your home stadium. And I was just like, hold me back because I won't touch the son of a bitch, in the face.
My goodness,
but I did get to play in the new stadiums. So
in the new one. Well, and that was back when Dion was with the Falcons, correct? I mean, wasn't that? Didn't you play against Dion? Yeah. So, prime time had just come to Atlanta pretty much by the time that all came around there. But hey,
I've got a good story about that down the road. We'll catch up. I'm going to write it down, and that'll be one of our stories.
Oh, there we go. All right, I love it. The Braves, real quick, did recall Didier Fuentes too, by the way, from Gwinnett. So they designated Ian Hamilton for assignment. So that again coming across the wire in the last hour or so. Again, Didier, the young arm there, the 21-year-old that throws the heat. They have brought him back up. We anticipated that they would do that. So again, the Braves making moves as we speak. Time now to take a trip down memory lane with our man, Big John Davis. It's time to hear from the Refrigerator Mover.
It's time to take a stroll down memory lane with the Refrigerator Mover.
All right, so here we go, a weekly segment right here on our Wingin It Wednesdays on the Morning Rant, where Big John takes us down memory lane and tells us a little story, and it can be from any level of life, high school, college, or pro, but lay it on us, man. Where are we going today?
So I was listening to you yesterday, I was listening to you yesterday, and you brought up the rivalry things, and literally Detroit came to mind first.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking after your show ended, and I was kind of piddling around outside, looking at news, trying to get ready. I got to make sure I'm up on your level of sports and
that's
everything.
not hard to do.
And I was thinking about when I get out by the fire pit, I go down memory lane a lot, and I just remember growing up.
Yeah.
The two biggest rivalries that I think I had at the time, well, there were a lot of them, but the two main ones was the first story is against a young man in Union County by the name of Brian Allison.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember that name.
I do.
I think he coached at
He was a
Union
coach,
for a while.
absolutely.
Went on and had a great college career, I believe, at Furman.
Yeah.
And but we were in Warren will tell the story better, but we were in 5th or 6th grade playing basketball, rec basketball in the playoffs, and he went diving for a ball out of bounds, and he knew what he was doing. Yeah. He went out and got the ball and threw it and just caught me right in the face. I mean, and at 5th grade, 6th grade, some tears come out and everything.
Yeah.
And I remembered that, and then as we got along into high school, we started developing that football rivalry with him at Union County. And also on the basketball side, there was a great player in Union County by the name of Danny Hemphill.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that
name. That name.
But
yes,
he was a great basketball player. Big fixture up in North Georgia and everything. And we always had battles for 3 or 4 years, me, him, Warren, and everything. But the biggest rivalry was, and I don't want him to get mad, but it was from that team just south of LJ. And we
I think I know of which you speak.
But
yes.
Just south.
Just south.
And but I don't know.
Oh, goodness.
I remember a basketball game. Football was always a battle, and you talk about stadiums back then being packed. Dave, I remember in Jasper, they had the fence around, they had the stands. I mean, you couldn't find a place anywhere.
Right.
I mean, the fences were, and that was the same way in LJ.
Yeah.
You basically shut down those two cities
or
counties to play. But we were playing basketball, and I can't remember the name. I've got a good friend, Don Bogus, that was playing basketball. But it was another guy. And and we were in LJ, and we were running down, and we had just been fighting for 3 or 4 years. It had just it's my senior year. Me and Warren are going to go out with a bang.
Right.
And so something happened one of the last games we played against Jasper, and a guy forearmed me in the head or something like that from behind, and I wasn't exactly what it was. I remember the face right now as plain as day. So I run down and I get ready for him on the defense, and he comes down and he's running the ball's behind him and he's running. I stick out my arm and I clothesline him. First thing that hits the ground is his head.
Oh, wow.
Okay, you want to know why I didn't get called for a foul?
Yeah, why is that?
Because all the referees were Georgia fans.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They were all Georgia fans. So guess what was the following week? Signing day.
Yeah.
So they were just like, well, we
so
can't
they were
call
hoping
because we got signing day next week.
And they were hopeful. They were hopeful.
Once signing day came and went, I didn't get those calls anymore.
Yeah. Funny how that worked out, right? When you didn't pick their school.
Exactly.
Then all of a sudden you didn't get those calls anymore.
We had such a great – I remember going back one season, or maybe I was retired, and I think we were playing Pickens, and I was just sitting over there in the corner at the basketball game, and, I'm sorry, I can't keep my mouth shut. And so I'm bitching and complaining about the refs. Well, he just turns around, looks at me, and gives me a technical right there.
Yeah.
And the head coach looks at me, and the ref says, "What are you going to do about it?" And he says, "You see how big he is? I'm not going to do anything about it." So I got the tee, and then I politely got up and went and sat in the stands, and, I kept my mouth shut from then on out.
That's funny. Oh, my goodness. Once again, a stroll down memory lane today with the refrigerator mover. Again, John Davis right here. Hey, you can catch us on social media on Twitter. I'm at Dave Garner 777. He's at John Davis _65. John Pops Davis right here. And we want to encourage you guys, too, to show us some love on social media. Again, the Sports Pig is on Facebook. Our show, The Morning Rant, clips on Instagram that we upload, but you can also watch full video episodes of the show daily on YouTube. Again, go to the Morning Rant on WPGY, the Sports Pig on YouTube. You can find us there. We're also available right on the website, the podcast version of the show, sportspigradio.com, and wherever you listen to your favorite daily podcast on all Apple and Android platforms, including Spotify, Podbean, you name it. We're all over the digital board. We're all over social media as well, and we are the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia. Great stuff, John. Again, a lot of different memories, and that's really one of the things that I wanted to do when you and I first talked about the show was be able to share stories and things, because you do bring a unique perspective that you can't just get anywhere else. Like we talk about, Braves, and we talk about things that everyone else, in Atlanta radio or whatever talk about, but we also bring more of a closer to home kind of feel to it as well. We do talk about high school sports. Yesterday we ran through the high school baseball rankings, throughout the state of Georgia, because really, we cover a lot of different schools, and we've got a lot of high schools in our what we would say our coverage area. So we like to give them love, and we're going to continue to do that. But I love hearing the stories that you have, not just about playing, for the Bills, not just about being at Georgia Tech, but also some of those high school stories too, because to me, that's really what brings this show even closer to home for our listening audience, are those experiences.
I've got many of them that I can't even talk about. That maybe we'll have a fireside chat one of these days on the on our podcast and talk about it. But no, I agree with you, and to just go on what you're saying. when we ask to hear feedback, we like good and bad, because listen, I'm as thick-skinned as you can be, but I want people to, if you want to hear something, let us know. If you don't like something, let us know. We're not here to stuff stuff down your, one of the reasons why I don't like Atlanta radio, and even I'll say Buffalo radio, it's become too much of an entertainment. And I think you and I bring a little bit of a hometown feel. There are some stories. I do know a little bit about football. We can talk old stories and the community and everything. And when I said the other day, the community, LJ is a big part of my community. Well, Fannin and Jasper were a big part as well, because I spent a lot of time sports-wise in those communities.
Oh, yeah.
And know people down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And very happy. Like with my golf tournament coming up, I'll get to see a lot of Jasper and Pickens County people at the tournament who are just fantastic people. So, I like that. Murray County. I got family in Murray County. And so I'd like for people to, give us your kids' names if they're getting recruited. Give us, if we can help out, if I can help out anyway recruiting-wise, you can always get in touch with me. But we want the community involved. If you've got something to say and it's negative, let us know. You're not going to hurt our feelings, and because we want to make this show much better, and we want to make it for you as well.
There we go. And maybe at the golf tournament this year, whoever it was from Pickens that elbowed you in the back of the head will make their identity known. So again, we appreciate you guys.
I'll have to talk to Don. I'll find Don. I think I've got.
I think Don Bogus would probably know the answer to that. Yeah, I know Don pretty well too. I'm going to hit him up.
You know Don.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know Don absolutely. So again, a lot of great folks throughout our area, and we're excited to get the show out to everyone. Hey, we're the home of ESPN Radio right here in North Georgia on the SportsPig app and online at sportspigradio.com. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL draft, some NFL notes, and some football news as well as we wrap up this hour. The fastest hour in sports talk radio lives here on the Morning Rant.
Financial scams are on the rise, and with AI, they're getting more and more sophisticated every day. If someone pressures you to act quickly, ask for secrecy, or request payment through gift cards, wire transfers, or cryptocurrency, stop. Legitimate financial professionals don't rush you or demand unusual payment methods. Before you send money or share personal information, slow down and verify. Protect your future. When in doubt, ask questions.
If you're suspicious of a scam, call the team at Foundation Wealth today at 706-278-0214.
Morning Grind with Pork Rinds.
Welcome to the show.
It's the Morning Rant, weekday mornings from 10 to 11 on 98.1, 93.7, and 101.1 on the H2 dial. WPGY, the Sports Pig.
Back here on a Wingin It Wednesday, again presented by the Pub and LJ. $1 wings all day long till midnight tonight. So if you got a hankering for some good wings, head on up to LJ and check out our friends at the Pub. Dave Garner back here alongside Big John Davis on a Wednesday, chopping it up. The night, the eve, if you will, before the first round of the NFL draft. You and I have kind of been talking a little bit about that, John, over the last couple of weeks as far as, strategy. Nothing specific with any particular teams per se, but really more so from the standpoint of like, okay, what are the GMs thinking? What are the teams thinking? Different approaches to the draft. I know every team has a little bit different thing. A lot of times they say, well, we're going to draft an athlete no matter what it is in the first round. You and I both kind of say that's kind of hogwash to a certain extent. You got to draft your needs. We know that, but you're really looking for a couple starters here in the first round or two. But, what are teams going to do tomorrow night? I mean, we presume, obviously, that Fernando is going to head to the Raiders. I mean, but beyond that, I mean, I know there's a lot of question marks. I mean, Jeremiah Love getting a lot of love, certainly maybe projected top running back, of course, to go perhaps to the Arizona Cardinals. I know they're talking about him. But, as far as some of just your notes and kind of what you see as far as teams maneuvering and positioning and what they should be thinking about as they go into the weekend.
Well, I think the phones won't start ringing until probably tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
I think they're all in their offices right now, and they're just like saying, "Okay, let's get our board set."
Yeah,
and just know that at 8:00 in the morning, that's going to be a whole different board. You know, so what they should do is just every wall should have 5 different boards of different scenarios. I was listening this morning, Dave, and I know you know how important this is. 6 teams have 2 number 1 draft choices.
Yeah.
Now, the way you can look at that is you've got, like right now, you've got the Chiefs. Dallas really are the 2 best teams out of that group. We know Jerry Jones loves to trade. We know he'll give up a first rounder for 4 less rounders because he's all about bringing more people in. He's always said that. He said it again last year.
Yeah.
He got away. He got Micah, I think, gave Micah away and got like 4 players for him, Micah Parsons.
Yep.
The Chiefs, we know how bad the Chiefs' defense is. And they're going to be without Mahomes. Chances are he's not going to play, or he's going to be a different player.
Sure.
Now, I'm not saying that they're going to go out and get a franchise quarterback. I think they signed somebody in the offseason. I don't remember his name, but I think they got it kind of filled.
Yeah.
But now you got the Chiefs, the Giants, the Browns, and Miami.
Right.
4 very bad teams. So how are they going to play? Are they going to get 2 starters, or are they going to go the Dallas route and say, you know what, let's utilize one of these and go and get 3-4 more players down the road? I kind of think that they're going to use both of them because they've got them, and it's very rarely that you hope that you ever have to, and they're high up. They've got some, they're in the position. So, I mean, and look, I'm sitting here telling you this, and tomorrow or Friday morning, you're going to laugh at me and say, John, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And I'm going to say, I was hoping that I could hide that from you as long as I could.
Yeah.
But,
well, we keep the shows.
You know what I mean.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. We keep these shows archived for like a week at a time on the on the website. So again, maybe once we get past the weekend, this show will fall off. No, I'm just teasing. But I mean, it really is kind of a crapshoot, and we talk about that. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the NFL draft? I mean, there's a guy that you and I have kind of joked around about, Mel Kiper, that makes a lot of money trying to prognosticate what's going to happen right here, and sometimes things pan out, sometimes they don't. Regardless of that, I know that you were talking about the Chiefs. Obviously, Justin Fields, they got, as a replacement to be able to play, because who knows if Mahomes is going to be ready in time after the ACL, obviously, because the healing for that. I think you could say the same thing a little bit closer to home about Michael Penix. Obviously, they've already addressed the quarterback position there, by bringing in Tua, by bringing in some other veterans there. But again, it's going to be interesting to see what a team like Atlanta does. Atlanta does not have a first-round pick. Matter of fact, I think they only have 4 or 5 picks total. There are some folks that are talking about, maybe even trading the second-round pick to try to accumulate a little bit more draft capital later in the draft to at least have some more picks there. But again, how much of a quality player are you going to get? Because you really do want to try to get at least a starter out of a second-round pick, a third-round pick, perhaps, I would think. So, again, I don't see – I know there's been some rumbling about that. I don't see the Falcons necessarily trading down to accumulate picks, but that may very well be a strategy. I know every GM in the league, when they're interviewed, always says, well, that's always something that's on the table, because I guess it is to a certain extent. But I think a lot of people are also not trying to show their hand either.
Well, and also, Dave, we've talked about it, and this is one thing that I hate to talk about, is the character issues. They go through a much harder, extensive interview process character-wise. Yeah. It wasn't as big back when I played, but they had tests out there, and they could look at the police blotter and see, what's going on. But I just saw where the Bain kid was involved with a fatal car wreck, the big defensive end for Miami, and I didn't catch the team, but Georgia just had one of their players
Zachariah
arrested.
Branch,
Yeah, and I'm just like, who are – lock these kids up in their room, especially the week before the draft.
Right.
But it's this is where, going back, getting away from maybe the first and second round, Dave, this is where the teams have to really do their due diligence 3 through 7, because you can get some good players.
Yeah.
But you have to study it. And I'm just going to say now, I know it's from the Georgia Tech side, and I'm just going to throw these in here, but Haynes King's going to be a steal.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, I was going to ask you about Haynes and kind of where you felt like,
From what I hear, they're just he's either going to be a late rounder or a free agent.
Yeah.
He could surprise. It just depends on runs, Dave. As
right.
you know,
Sure.
When you get in there and in the first and second round, when you start running on these tackles, well, you only have two handfuls of tackles out there. So everybody's like, well, hell, I was hoping to get him in the third. I need to go ahead and push him up to the second.
Right.
And the same's for just about every very need position.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it with running backs as much, or maybe wide receivers not as much, but they're looking at the offensive lineman. I think Haynes is going to be a steal whether he's drafted or not. I think Key Rutledge, Big Red, is going to. I predict he's going to be a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to have his name up on the stadium one day because I'm just so impressed with him.
Right.
But the one other guy that I wrote down and gave you was Jordan Vanderberg. And I think he's one of those defensive linemen that offensive linemen hate to play because he's not going anywhere. He's going to try to take up two linemen if he can.
Yeah.
And he just becomes a quiet menace within the defensive line.
And that's what you want in the middle. You got to have a guy that can stop the gap, but also push the pocket, as well, and kind of create havoc. And, sometimes, and we always say it, it's not always necessarily. Now, I am a fan of sacks defensively. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I know that there was some joking around about, when Mike Smith was in Atlanta, sacks don't matter. And Raheem Morris even said that, it's more about pressure. You got to get the quarterback down to the ground, right? I think in order to make it count. I'm just one of those people. But at the same time, there is something to be said for pressure, right? And momentum, exactly. So, a guy that can push the pocket, he may not end up with the sack, but he's going to be able to allow some of those other guys freed up to come off the edge to do some things like that. And I think that Vanderberg could certainly, I agree with you, could be a guy that could do that. Yeah.
And I'll say this also, just what you said. I just watched a highlight reel film of him the other day, and while I was at the majority of the games, I don't remember him causing that much havoc.
Yeah.
But watching his highlight reel, I mean, dude was in the backfield a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And he caused a lot of problems. So I give him big kudos, and I think it's going to be an exciting day, not only for our Jackets and for Georgia, because they're going to have 10 or 12 guys go in the top 2 or 3 rounds, and then it's the beginning of hopefully it's going to be a great career for all those kids.
Yeah, you said 250 7 kids or whatever are going to have their lives changed over the weekend, and that's why you always see so much emotion. These guys when it's something like that happens, because we always talk about it. For the 10% bad, there's 90% good. A lot of people don't realize the heart and soul, the blood, the sweat, the tears that goes in to getting in that position, to being in that position. Because correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you were a former professional athlete. These guys as kids, dream about, I think, being that moment of being up on that stage, holding up that jersey, being that draft pick.
Well, I'll tell you, I think it was 4th or 5th grade. They asked me what I wanted to do, and I said I wanted to be a professional football player. Yeah. And I saw an emotional clip last night of a baseball mom whose son got to play in the major leagues, and I think he got a strikeout the first game. And they're saying, this mother has been washing his uniform since he was 5 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And for her to be able to see this. I remember when my mom came to my first preseason game in Houston, Hester's like, she just broke down crying, and the stories that I do give you about me not being happy about being drafted by Houston, I did sit back and say, damn, I was one of them.
Right.
And now the work began. Now the work happens. And so, it's just it's the finish of one thing, but and you don't have any time to enjoy it. And then you start for your next career, and that's just the reality of it.
And sometimes you have to look back after it's over before you let it set in and really realize how special it was.
Exactly.
Oh, man. We're about out of time on this show today. Good stuff, man, right here on this Wingin' It Wednesday, presented by our friends at the Pub and LJ. $1 wings all day long till midnight tonight. Big John, as always, thanks for bringing it right here on another episode of the show, and we'll see you back here on Friday. Tomorrow, again, my man Billy Deal being here, we'll be chopping up some Hawk stock and some Atlanta Braves as well. But as always, man, thank you, partner, for bringing it.
Good to see you, pal.
Yes, sir. Hey, just a reminder, visit us on social media. Give us some love, baby. Sports Pig on Facebook. The Morning Rant is on Instagram. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff you normally do. Again, full video episodes daily on YouTube. The podcast version on The Morning Rant, also available on sportspigradio.com and wherever you listen to your favorite daily podcast. I'm at Dave Garner 777. He's at John Davis _65 on Twitter. Reach out to us, interact with us, and we look forward to hearing from you guys. Chuck Oliver is up next with Southern Sports Today right here on the Sports Pig. Until tomorrow, if you don't know, you better ask somebody. We'll see you tomorrow right here on the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
98.1 and 93.7 The Sports Pig, where hot takes meet hot mics.